So, just gonna call out. It's awkward for me too. It's video, we're gonna make it through. So first things, what do you think went well about your writing lesson on Monday? We'll start there.
Okay, my students were engaged.
Okay.
As usual.
Mm-hmm.
They knew the expectations. With that class, with both classes, I'm working on transitioning from center time to whatever is next. And both classes, first and second period, it's different schedules.
Okay.
So for me, that was a win.
Okay. So you're saying the transition from centers to the writing block
was fine. That was a win. And being engaged, even though like this is the first time I'm teaching this, and I get support on this Friday, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna introduce this to you guys the best I can. So.
Okay.
Yeah. Can
you say more about when you say support on this, what this is, and what's the support on
So we, as a school, decided by grade level to break down the different parts of an essay. So the teacher got to decide like how many days you want to teach it and when you're going to assess. So I just taught Attack the Prompt for the past 5 days and assessed on the 6th day. So it was a new part of writing an essay for my students, which was to annotate the text. And my mentor is sick, so she like emailed me a PowerPoint like, oh, this is really well, look at the lesson plan, you should use this. Okay. And she hasn't been in since.
And she's coming in on Friday?
No, she's not. Actually, I just asked Miss Brown to do it for me. Miss Brown was gonna just come in and co-teach with me.
Oh, okay. So
because she's so sick.
Gotcha.
And I didn't want to like go to her house. I've been to her house before. Like she's like, oh, come over, but she's like sick. I called her today and she's still sick. So I did the best I can, and Ms. Brown asked me what I used to introduce it, and I said I used the PowerPoint. She's like, which PowerPoint? I'm like, the one Ms. Hall sent me. She's like, I told her not to give you guys it because it's kind of confusing. And I feel like my students are kind of confused on how to annotate the text because I was kind of confused with that PowerPoint.
Gotcha.
And we practiced today, and I wasn't getting the outcome that I thought I would get. Okay. So now it's like, fix what went wrong.
Okay.
Yeah, the text on the PowerPoint was very wordy. And we struggle with vocabulary in my class, and we struggle with reading, especially that class that's my low class. So even though it is at grade level, I like to like introduce stuff like with a text that is more student friendly, like catered to my students. So the skill that I'm learning, they're focused on more than like the reading itself. Okay. Because we could totally miss a skill just by trying to break down the syllables and trying to sound out a word. So yeah.
Okay. Just kind of a side question. When you're thinking about teaching annotation and using the text, are you saying that with annotation you might be teaching it with like a lower lexile level than what they might see on the test? Okay.
So we're focused on just
like the practice of annotation. Yeah. We can talk briefly closer to the end just about how you can use the skill of annotation as also a reading skill for text that's difficult, and some strategies you might be able to, or you would be able to teach kids for like, okay, so the text is going to be a little difficult. So here are some things in addition to the symbols and stuff that we have, some things you can do when you run into words you don't know, a sentence that's a little confusing and all that, because they have 2 to 4 texts, so we can help them. Okay, so you might not understand one part of it, but we'll talk about some strategies.
And context clues too, because like we like are trying to use context clues to figure out some of these words, but still like we're struggling with it. Okay. So it's like, can I just get a dictionary? And I'm like, no, you don't have a dictionary. And you have to say. So yeah. Gotcha. I'm happy they want to use a dictionary, but still. So yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit more about, so when you guys met as a school, as a grade level, and decided the pieces of writing that you wanted to teach, and the 6-day assessment? Like, what does that look like? How did you determine that stuff?
So, from what I understand, coaches met with Ms. Brown,
Okay.
and then they met with teachers and asked us if we were interested in it, and we said yeah. So we broke it down. I have it on my computer.
Okay.
We broke it down, like attack the prompt, annotate the text. There's 6 parts, and then you as a teacher, depending on your teacher, like how you feel about your class, decide if you want to teach 4 days, assess the 5th day, teach 5 days, assess the 6th day, like how long you want to teach each part. And then we planned all the way to February, and the goal is to have at least a week and a half, 2 weeks before that test where you're not teaching at all, so you can review and like just get the kids ready for the test.
So your test date, what is it? In
February.
Oh, it's at the end of February.
Yes.
Oh, good. Okay.
So it's the end of February, and I believe I'm going to be done with my content as well before that, because we planned for content too. So
Okay.
I planned out I have like a pacing guide, personal pacing guide, and then also for writing.
Okay.
So every single part is assigned days, and then assessment days. And then your assessment, like your data, goes to Ms. Brown.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what is the process for creating those assessments? Is it like you as the teacher create it? Do you guys create it as a grade level? You kind of don't have a grade level,
No,
do
it's
you?
just me.
Right, okay.
So my last assessment, so what happened was 3rd grade, actually, Ms. Brown decided that 3rd grade will start exposing their students to writing, since like we realized that for me it's a struggle because the students, this is their first time ever like writing. So she decided that 3rd grade will write as well. So I've been like working sometimes with the 3rd grade ELA teacher. And like when it comes to like lesson planning, like she'll do the journal page, or I'll do the journal page, and then like whatever I have, I show her. Like I made anchor charts, she uses my anchor charts. So
Okay,
it's
like
been
that
working.
symbols one that you had,
Yeah.
similar ones. Okay.
So it's been working that way. When it comes to like making assessments, I'm making the assessments in my class. And what I did was break down the whole I do, you do, we do, I do, we do, you do into like days. So like I did it and they watched. They had opportunity to do it with me, and then like the next day it would be like I'm just reviewing it, we're just talking about it, and you're gonna do it in a group. We're gonna be in center, like in areas of the room, and I had a big prompt, and they're like and I'll assess that way. And then you work by yourself independently, and then the assessment was, I believe, 5 prompts they attacked, and it was a mixture of informative and opinion, and like one of them had a different audience than your teacher.
Okay.
And the prompts, Ms. Brown gave me resources where to find prompts, but when I pulled those, my reading coach didn't really like them, so she pulled prompts for me.
Okay.
That was more, yeah.
Okay. Okay. So how does the process of creating those assessments feel right now? Do you feel like you have what you need? Do you feel like do you feel like you have what you need? And then 2, like how are your students doing on the assessments?
With Attack the Prompt, that was like great. I had fun with that.
Okay.
After like we met, and then I met with Ms. Brown, and then I met with Ms. Hall, so I felt great about it. Like, so Attack the Prompt was great.
Okay.
My students did really well. I have data here. Based off my data, Attack the Prompt, I only had 1 student, I think. Nope. All my students passed it. All my students passed the assessment. It was 5 questions. And I probably have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Some students out of 36 that received a 3 or lower.
Okay.
And I didn't have out of 5.
Okay.
And I only had 3s. I didn't have anyone with a 2. So we have that down back. We have Attack the Prompt.
Okay.
So
cool. So the outcome. So Attack the Prompt. Their outcome is that they heard you going through some of the steps. How so you asked them. So like what their purpose was, what they're reading for, who their audience was, those types of questions.
So it's purpose, focus, audience. Okay. So you should be able to know your purpose. When you read the prompt, you should be able to like annotate, because we annotate it. You should be able to annotate for the purpose, the focus, and state your audience.
Gotcha. Okay. So good. So they have, so at this point, they know when they're going into their annotation phase. The idea is that we want them to know.
To float over.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right. Excuse me, sorry. So you said attack the prompt, felt great, and it sounded like you were maybe a little unsure about something else. So how do you feel about the assessment that you have in place for annotation? Do you have it?
I don't have one yet.
Okay.
And that's why
Sorry.
Hey, I'm just going to get my bag. Say hello. Hard things.
Good.
Hello?
Yeah.
I got granola bars for Dave. Here, I got you these.
Thank you.
All right.
I have not created an assessment yet because I don't know how it should look. Based off the resources that I was given, I'm kind of unsure.
Yeah.
Like, I have the annotation guide, but, like, do I insist that, like, you have to annotate based off, like, I don't...
Yeah, so like what is the criteria for the annotation? Okay. Yeah. So I think that is, in my mind, the general focus of the feedback, and like what I would like us to do is to take what you guys created, so the 6 parts of the writing process, to then make sure we have a very specific outcome for, okay, your outcome for attack the prompt was spot on. They need to know, like, what is the purpose, what are they reading for, who is the audience. I think you had one that I hadn't even necessarily thought of, like the third one. So perfect, because you can assess that, it's clear. I think we want that same thing for all the other pieces. So once we kind of go through the feedback part, that is where I want to spend most of our time, is like looking through what you guys came up with and then making like, okay, these are the 3 outcomes of that, and then based on that I could create an assessment on those things.
Okay.
So that is where we're going. And let me make a note.
And then side note,
Yes.
I'm comparing themes right now.
Uh-huh.
And theme is like so vague.
It's a very elusive topic.
Yeah.
Yes.
And my kids come up with these. And according to like the way I was shown, like there's a YouTube video that was in the curriculum to use. Like how do you say no to their theme? As long as it passes, I have a checklist and they'll pass it. And then it's like, but. So
Gotcha.
I like support on that too.
Okay, I put this down too. I actually think it might be good for us to figure out a time where we can just go through the 4th grade standards and some like examples of, okay, this means this, this means this. What is the real definition of main idea versus what people kind of say? What's the difference between main idea and a summary? What is theme? I think that would be good. Work time. I feel like I want that to be our thing. Like, okay, we get stuff done together. Standards. Is this actually recording? Okay. That's just could be a problem. Okay, so some things that were going really well and when we did an observation. These are group notes. Some of them are mine. Some of them came from other people. I'm trying to make sure I synthesize appropriately, but. Definitely a feeling of Taisha is being herself in her classroom. Like we heard multiple examples of like very thought out language. So one clear example was when you said, so like there was a student who, they were arguing over the pencil and you mentioned like, so we're in 4th grade, something about like problem solving. You're like, okay, so what can you do about this scenario? And it was like, they had a little bit of a conversation. You didn't let that like, just go on and on. Like you clearly had this vision of like, I'm going to acknowledge this is what we do in 4th grade, that I'm going to give you an opportunity to think about it, then I'm going to, if you didn't figure it out, tell you, can you apologize? Then we're going to apologize and ask you if you accept it, and then we're going to move on. It was like, it didn't seem like it was some random thing that you did. It was like, this is what we do in here. Like, do you accept the apology? The student said yes, and it was like, okay. Like that felt like a strong example of, okay, she has some some language that she likes to use, and she's also building towards something